The deadlift. Largely considered by most to be the absolute test of one's strength, where one human will pick up an object and simply put it back down, where individuals transcend basic human biology and evolve into actual living Pokemons. A movement so uncontrollable in its power that you can literally become possessed mid-movement if you do not harness the strength or the will to wield such power. It is a known fact that there is a positive correlation between the amount that you lift and the size of your Do you even lift, bro? Is what they say if you do not perform the deadlift. Which is funny, so I don't actually deadlift. Well, it's not the fact that I haven't deadlifted before. In fact, when I first started training back when I was 18, I'm now 24, I was just obsessed with just getting as strong as I could. So every session I'll just be trying to lift as heavy as I can. And I think due to the fact that I just weren't giving myself enough recovery time, I had poor technique, it just kind of ultimately ended up in my downfall, where I remember vividly waking up one morning and I was just in such excruciating pain. My lower back felt like it was literally broken.
What do you mean by that? Your back is broken. What?
And so that kind of put me out of the gym for a good 6 months, and I didn't even start deadlifting again until like a year after that incident. And since then to now, I've been deadlifting at most once every 2 months, but I just haven't done it with the intent of getting stronger. And even more so in the past year and a half, my main goal has been to just work on my cardiovascular work, because my cardio was so awful, it was embarrassing. I'd walk up a flight of stairs and I'll be out of breath. And so I just did a lot of high rep calisthenic stuff. As you see in my prior videos, a lot of burpees, a lot of bodyweight lunges, a lot of bodyweight squats, that kind of stuff. But now that I can walk up a flight of stairs without being out of breath, I've been thinking to myself, what should my next goal in fitness be? And I've been thinking of going back to my roots, which is more traditional kind of like just weightlifting, resistance training, trying to get as strong as I can. And so how I arrived at this number of 200 kg is that I think it's achievable for me, but it is still challenging enough to really push me, not just in the gym, but in terms of like a programming standpoint. I need to really master the technique. I really have to find the best accessory movements in order to aid the lift, and it's not just mindlessly going into the gym, randomly lifting some weights and you'll just magically end up with a 200 kg deadlift. I'd really have to kind of like focus on my approach and my kind of methods in order to get that lift. So what you're about to watch now in this footage is basically my starting point. And so this footage actually was taken around 2 months ago, and being my lazy procrastinating self, I haven't actually done anything with this footage since, so we're just going to go through it now. So one thing to note actually is that I was always a conventional lifter. I never did sumo, and that's just because I just didn't really like the look of sumo. But I recently discovered this guy called Jamal Browner, and I just find his technique in the sumo just so aesthetic. So I thought, now that I'm basically restarting my deadlifting journey, why not try something completely new? So here I am just trying to find basically a comfortable position in the sumo, and you'll see that I'm setting my hips really low when I'm starting this movement, which now thinking back is probably why I just didn't have the power from the initial part of the movement. This feels so awkward right now. I feel like I'm about to pull my adductors or something. It feels really unnatural right now. Oh, and the jacket's off. It's getting real. So here you can see I'm just going up in 20 kg jumps. Here is 60 kg. You can still see that I'm still setting my hips really low in the initial part of the movement. So it's essentially like I'm just trying to squat the weight up. It's just not an efficient starting position. And so that's probably why I found it so hard to break weight off the floor. It still looks fine now just because we're still dealing with a relatively low weight, but you'll see the more weight I add on, the harder or the slower it takes for me to actually get the weight off the floor. So here 20, is that 120? Yeah, so here's 120. And you can start seeing the weight is taking a lot longer to get off the floor. Here we see is my top single. This is probably the most I can lift at that point. And we see here it just takes an absolute eternity to get off the floor. So I hit 130 kg, which I'm happy with. That's probably the most I could do. As you can see from the video, it took ages for it to break the floor. And here's just some bonus footage of me trying to get used to the technique, I guess. Like I said though, this was about 2 months ago, and since then I have been deadlifting, I have been improving. So hopefully I'll get episode 2 out soon with like what I've learned so far in this journey. And just hopefully over this series I'll be able to give you guys value as well. Hopefully hone in on the technique. Hopefully I'll be able to find good accessory movements, the best accessory movements that aid my lift, and hopefully what will work for me will work for you guys as well. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop me a like and a subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.